Hello, hello, Gutsy Women, and welcome to another interview in this fantastic group for you fantastic ladies to listen to. I've got a wonderful, wonderful lady here, a wonderful woman, Laura Kirstein. And as you can tell by her name on the screen, she is the founder of the Goodbye Good Girl project. So this is going to be an absolutely wonderful conversation. I can just feel it in my water. So Laurie, it's lovely to have you here. And I would love you to say a little bit more about what you do. But first of all, can you tell people exactly who you are, where you are, and what is the story behind what you do now? Why are you so passionate about it?
Thank you so much, Dee. I am thrilled to meet you and through you energetically, everybody else who's watching or ever will watch. And I'm in the crazy US and I'm in Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio, which is the Midwest. This is where I was born. I didn't stay here forever. So I've also lived in California, in Boston, and I'm just kind of a hybrid person. What makes me incredibly passionate and what I work with is empowerment, but it's next level empowerment. I've known women throughout my life, including myself, who have not known our natural magnificence, our natural expansiveness, our natural strengths. We've all been conditioned to think that I have to follow the rules, I have to follow the social shoulds. And we've done it for a good reason so that we could survive, right? We've done it for really good reasons. But my God, the people who are drawn to me are those who are like, I'm so done. I've been doing this for decades and the rules are crap. I can't deal with it. I need to be me. I need my authenticity. And I've gone through so many levels of the whole backup. My acting, professional acting broke me out of this idea that I'm only able to do this much of a self-expression. No, you have the full panoply of human emotions. And if you can't have that, you also can't have the full understanding of who you are and what you can do and be. You'll always be measuring up to or measuring down to somebody else. So that's why I'm really passionate is let's start measuring up to ourselves because the feminine is unbelievably strong. And I can tell you about that when I tell you about my mental health journey.
So that was going to be my next question is what brought you to being somebody who's so vehemently passionate about women speaking up and being their authentic self and not holding things in? What was it that brought you to that place?
I'm gonna have to say it really started when I was 16. And I grew up in a household with two professional classical musicians. And they were out performing here and overseas and just doing their thing. And we would have house parties. And I'm very observant, and I would notice that the women were playing a game. They were having to pretend more. They were having to take care of the guys. Because back then in the 60s and early 70s, there wasn't so much, there was no wedding, there was no marriage for lesbians, for homosexuals. There was none of that marriage stuff going on. So it was always just the traditional masculine, feminine. And I noticed that it was always uneven, always unequal. And I said, this doesn't work for me. And I don't know how to get out of it. And I started a lifelong journey to become 100% me. And whenever I would run into somebody was who was at a lesser place than I am, like I met a woman once, lovely woman, but she put herself last consistently. And whatever her husband said, oh, I guess he's right. I guess he's right. And that's not because she was stupid. She was an incredibly smart woman, but emotionally, she had been so held back and she had practiced that inside her own mind so often that she believed it. And I wanted to yell and scream and say, don't you realize you're fabulous? And no, she didn't. She didn't. So it's been a long journey of me saying, how can I get the message across and how can we collectively heal in a way that is the path of least resistance?
So you mentioned there your own mental health journey. Can you
Mm.
touch on that a little bit for the audience, please, to see, because I'm sure there'll be people who resonate with having their own mental health journeys as well. So it'd be really interesting for them to hear your story.
Oh, thank you for that. I love to share this because I love, first of all, breaking that idea that you're not supposed to talk about it. I don't like the idea that you can't talk about anything. So, my mother became very ill when I was 11 years old. She got breast cancer, and that went on for 11 years, and she passed away when I was 21. And as a result, I ended up with clinical depression and anxiety, and that went on for 40 years, a very long time. And I was held back, like everything I would try to do in my life, be that professional actor, but be successful at it. Um, be whatever it was I wanted to be, I would always hit a wall. I would always hit a point where I'd have to just back way off and take care of keeping myself sane. And I really resented it. I didn't like that at all. Like, why do I have to keep stopping? And I was doing the medication and I was doing the therapy and the group therapy. And yet, even on the medication, it wasn't helping. It wasn't stopping the suicidal ideation and it wasn't stopping just feeling miserable. And then and I was also doing spiritual work. I was trying to get to it in any way I could find. And then about 3 years ago, I was going down for the third time. I was having a nervous breakdown, and it was my third in my life. And I'd already been to the emergency room, and they said, "Look, we're happy to help you. We'll adjust your meds. But if you come back again, we'll probably, the only thing we'll be able to offer you is to lock you up." I said, "Yeah, I don't want that." Um, so I went home, and about 2:30 in the morning, I was listening to Abraham Hicks on YouTube. Do you know Abraham Hicks? Yes. And so I had been playing Abraham for days, trying to lift my energy, but it wasn't helping. And then I said, okay, I'm out of answers. And I could feel myself really falling. And I thought, there's nothing to catch me now, not even my own resilience. And when I said, I've got nothing, it dropped in. Why don't you try doing one of Abraham's rampages, rampage of appreciation, rampage of forgiveness, something, a rampage. I said, I don't know how to do that, but I'm going to do it because I don't know how. I can't, I've got nothing else. Long story short, after 10 minutes, I realized I had shifted from danger, danger to I feel like crap, but I'm not in danger. And when you've had depression, when you've had mental illness of any kind, there's an idea that there's literally nothing that you can do, that you are a victim to it, that all you can do is take medication, but there's no power within you to fix it. And the powers that I used were emotional awareness and what I now call the 1% solution, where you just let a pinprick of light. It cannot be you can't go for, oh, I feel fabulous and pretend. You can't do that. But if you go, this is the truth, I feel terrible. What is another truth that is a pinprick of light? And what I said to myself, what I was writing down was, I'm really, I think I deserve a pat on the back for persevering. A lot of people have already given up by the time they've been through what I've been through. So I think I'm pretty much awesome. And I could feel this little lift. And I went, oh. And then I kept massaging it because that's what I heard Abraham say on the YouTube. And it's like, feel into it. I went, well, I feel a little bit of light and oxygen in my body. Oh my gosh, that feels better. Okay, this is awesome. And then more depressive thought came up. So I wrote that down. And then I let some more light in. And after 10 minutes, I went, holy God, I'm capable of shifting this. And after 5 days, I had healed clinical part of it. I'm not depressed on a daily basis at all, and haven't been for 3 years.
That is the power of what we can actually all achieve in any area of our life when we actually take the steps to actually do it and actually believe in ourselves, isn't it, Laurie?
Yeah, I would add to that taking the steps is such an interesting journey because you have to find the stairway that's yours.
Yes.
You have to find that stairway that gives you some relief, and it is all based in the feminine, which is emotion. It's all based in that. Why? Because that's what we can use to give ourselves the feedback. We don't have to look outside to all of these shifting sands of this woman says this and this man says that, this other man says this and this other woman. Forget it. What resonates with you? And coming into that is the biggest shift of my life so far, for sure. For
And
sure.
and how would you, or what would you say to anybody listening today about being able to do that for themselves? You know, you've said you've got to find the right staircase for you. And do you have any words of wisdom on how to find that stairway for themselves?
I hope that some people find it wise or helpful. Um, it really is the most magical thing when you can start to give yourself the honor, the mercy of feeling your emotions. And I know that for 40 years, my emotions for me were the enemy. I mean, I felt I didn't have any control. They would suddenly start to just dive bomb, and I'd be like, wait, and I couldn't get them back. What I didn't understand was that um, feminine energy is more powerful wherever you're standing in your emotional journey, in the day itself. Something above where you're standing by 1% is a transformation. When you do it with intention and awareness, you have just gotten rid of this. You are now a step higher, and you keep doing this, and you are now in a completely different relationship to yourself. And when you have a different relationship to yourself, you allow for different points of view within you and from people you trust to help shift the ways that you approach situations, emotions, people, your own emotional whiplashes, and all of that. So get aware of how you feel and understand, try to find a way to understand that you're looking for relief. You're not looking for the big reward of like, I've got a boat, I've got the perfect mate, I've got the $1,000,000. No, you're looking for relief, because every day when you step into a little bit more joy, you're attracting everything you want without you having to work yourself to death for it.
And the thing about what you've just said is that, as women, we have probably been allowed to show our emotions far more than, boys and men. Boys are taught to swallow down, not to cry, be strong, all of those kinds of things. And yet, somewhere along the line, we've picked up that it's not safe to say certain things, or to feel certain things, or to expect certain things. And that's been the shift, that we're buried underneath a lot of those things. It's as if we've been given a coat for Christmas, and 3 years later it doesn't fit us anymore, but we're still wearing it.
Gorgeous. I love that analogy. Yes, exactly. The analogy I have is that we've swallowed their bile, and it's a systemic bile. It's not like let's go hate men, but whenever you're talking about people who have what's that word, who have more power than you do, they don't have to see what you go through. So it really is up to us to take that coat off and say, excuse me, this doesn't, not only does it not fit, it's not even attractive. And we have imbibed all of that to keep safe for a lot of good reasons. But the minute we start to take it back and understand that when I change by this much, something that I'm doing, it's so small. And I'll give an example in a second. But the moment we change by even this much, People feel it, whether or not they're aware of it, they do feel it. So I remember I was talking to a couple of people once, and they were sitting down and I was standing. And for some reason, I thought I needed to be nice, like that disempowerment thing. Instead of being a kind adult woman, be nice, give myself up. And so I was like leaning down and I had my legs all, it was like I was all corkscrewed. And I'm talking to them and they're looking at me and and I'm thinking suddenly, wait a minute, what am I doing? And then I thought, oh no, I can't straighten up. I'll feel stupid. And I said, well, better you feel stupid than you feel disempowered. So I slowly unhitched my legs. I stood straight up. And oh my God, I felt the power and it was amazing. I didn't like it at first, but I was like, I'm gonna get used to this because this is who I am. I'm an adult person.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
And
So it's
and
little things.
yes, it is. And even those little things can feel like huge steps to certain
Well,
people.
they actually are huge steps.
Yeah.
When it comes to both energy and spirituality, the little answers are actually the gigantic ones, and the ones we think are huge are about this big. So
Yes.
what
Yes.
can I say?
We don't realize how something so small can actually turn into something huge. It's like that little mustard seed, isn't it? A mustard seed of faith can,
It
move
is.
mountains at the end of the day. Yeah.
It is.
From small acorns, oak trees grow, or something as well. That's another one I love.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
did they come out in a giant, like 2x4, whatever? No, they come out this big. And
Yeah.
that's the feminine. That's the power of the feminine. When we will allow ourselves to go into the small and not try to mimic, frankly, the toxic masculine, oh, let's do it, let's make it happen, like, forget it. That doesn't actually work, by the way. The guys who are out there going, hey, I'm making $9 million and I did this in like 5 months. You didn't do it alone. You didn't either you're 18 and your mother was still doing your laundry and cooking for you and all of that, or your wife was if you were 30. I mean, we all need help.
Yes.
We all
For
need to
sure.
get there.
For sure. For sure.
And we need to start like that every day. That.
Yes. So these limiting beliefs can all impact
Mm.
our physical health as well. And it's this little bit of chatter in our heads that we keep telling ourselves that we're not capable. And if I say that, what if this happens? If I do that, or if I don't do that, what if I stop giving in this relationship for a little while and see what happens? What happens if this happens? Will it create havoc? Will it create discord? Will it ruin my relationship, or will I get sacked from my job, or whatever? And so there's all that fear-based process having to be navigated before we can even think, well, even if that did happen, would it be the end of the world?
Well, that's why in the workshops that I do, I give women exercises that allow them, we do it together, to experience themselves differently. Because I've got to tell them, if you're going to change, you are putting your job and your relationship on the line. You are. So what you have to get clear on is, how much you do you want to be before you die? Do you want to try to be safe from life, which is impossible because we all leave? Or do you want to have a quality of life that you have even that mustard seed amount of faith could maybe possibly exist? Because then the next level is, it might possibly could exist for me. But like, are you even like, look at other women who've come out of that and go, look, it is possible. And I would really like to be like her. I would like to have that quality in my life. I'd like to feel that confident. I would like to be able to stand on a stage and do whatever. I'd like to be able to say no to a relationship and then come out the other side amazing. And you can. And we need to share our stories with each other to show that that is exactly what happens. You cannot stop yourself from growing unless you decide, ooh, this is too scary. I want to go back to security. and feel miserable. I don't think it's a good trade-off. And I understand completely how tough it is to make that step. I get it.
Yeah. And it's all about being a gutsy woman, I guess.
Oh, you gotta be gutsy. You do have to have courage, that's for sure. But you also need support. You need the support of other women, or psychotherapy or coaching or whatever it is that helps you start to up level in your sense of self. It's not up leveling externally first. It's, can I feel better about what I'm doing or how I'm doing it? Yeah, that's the big work. And I agree with the Dalai Lama. I think Western women are the ones who are going to show the world how it's done. Yeah.
Yes, I loved it when I heard that. Really good, really good. Laurie, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much. And I believe you really are a gutsy woman. So thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing, your story, your take on, what is going to benefit women worldwide, not just here in this group, but and I want to just say to people listening today, if you've heard something from Laurie that resonates with you, please engage in a conversation with her, either in the comments or contact her privately. She's going to be leaving her details within the group, and you can find those details in the dedicated space for where people who have been interviewed share their links. So and you know where that is, it's in the guide section. So thank you very much for listening, everyone, for watching. And Laurie, thank you so much for your wisdom and your take on life. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so very much. Gutsy woman.
Thank you so much. Yes, I'll just end the live stream now.